Namaskar. I am so happy to see you. I hope everyone is safe and doing good. Alright? So let's start our class now. Welcome to our section. See dear ones, plants or trees provide life on earth with oxygen, food and shelter. So directly or indirectly all organism depends on plants for their survival and for their existence. Thus plants helps for the existence of other life forms. So there is a saying in Matsya Purana, a sun is equal to 10 reservoirs, but a tree is equal to 10 suns. Is it right? So how lucky these plants are. Their entire life is dedicated to others for doing good. So let's take this message from these plants. Let's dedicate our life to other ones for doing good. Okay. So come back to our topic. So the plants always gives us oxygen and carbohydrate. How do plants synthesize these things? How do plants synthesize carbohydrate and oxygen? Yes, it's through the process called photosynthesis, right? Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. So photosynthesis is a process of synthesizing carbohydrate by using carbon dioxide, chlorophyll, sunlight, water, and by using some kinds of minerals. Then where does this photosynthesis occur? Where does photosynthesis occurs in plants? Where does this process occurs in plants? Yes, it taking place in chloroplast. In chloroplast. Chloroplast is an organelle that is present in plants that helps in the synthesis of the carbohydrate, or the photosynthesis occurs in chloroplast. So for this process, for the photosynthesis, light energy is needed. It is light dependent reaction. Light is essential. Then how do these plants get light energy? Light energy. Let's see how do these plants or how do this organelle gets light energy. There are some special kind of molecules that are present in chloroplast. Then what's the structure of a chloroplast? Chloroplast has double-walled membrane, and inside the membrane there are many thin green flattened structures are present, and those structures are called thylakoid, and group of thylakoids together called grana. We have learned the structure of chloroplast in lower class, right? So I told you that some special kind of molecules, special type of molecules are present in this chloroplast, and those molecules are called pigments. And these pigments are located in grana. They are seen in chloroplast. So let's study about the chloroplast pigments today. Chloroplast pigments. So the chloroplast pigments are seen in grana. So different types of chloroplast pigments are present. So all those chloroplast pigments together called light harvesting complex. Light harvesting complex. It is called LHC. Light harvesting complex. Where is it present? It is present in grana. Why is it called a complex? These pigments are always seen along with some kinds of proteins. They are seen along with the proteins. That's why it is called a complex. So the all pigments are together called light harvesting complex. So these pigments are absorbing light energy. Then what are the different types of pigments? What are the different types of pigments? Let's see. The pigments are chlorophyll A, then carotene, xanthophyll, then chlorophyll B, chlorophyll A, so I already told it, chlorophyll A, and then phycobilins. phycobilins. We are familiar with the chlorophyll molecule, but chlorophyll molecules are also of different type. So different types of chloroplast molecules are chlorophyll A, carotene, xanthophyll, chlorophyll B and phycobilins. So these are the different types of chloroplast pigments. So all these chloroplast pigments together called a light harvesting complex. And they are seen in grana. Then obviously next question comes, what type of light are absorbed by these pigments? What type of light? See, these chloroplast pigments absorb visible light. They absorb visible light or the VGO. It comes in the wavelength of 390 to 390 to 760 nanometer. So this chloroplast pigments absorb, visible light that comes in the wavelength of 390 to 760 nanometer from the electromagnetic spectrum. So these pigments absorb, these different chloroplast pigments absorb different wavelength of light. Okay, so different chloroplast pigments absorb different wavelength of light. So we can classify the pigments into two pigment system. So they are pigment system 1 and the other one pigment system 2. Pigment system 1 and pigment system 2. So there are two types of, or we can classify the pigment system into two, that is pigment system 1 and pigment system 2. So the pigments that comes under the pigment system 1 are chlorophyll A, carotene and xanthophyll. So the pigments that comes under the pigment system 1 are chlorophyll A, carotene and xanthophyll. And the pigments that comes under the pigment system 2 are chlorophyll B, then phycobilins and one more thing, and another form of chlorophyll A. Chlorophyll A are of different forms. Different forms of chlorophyll A are present. And another type of chlorophyll A is present in pigment system 2. So I repeat, the pigments are the light absorbing molecules that are present in grana. They are together called a LHC, that is light harvesting complex. And these pigments are of two types. They are pigment system 1 and pigment system 2. Pigment system 1 and pigment system 2. The pigments, the chloroplast pigments that comes under the pigment system 1 are the chlorophyll A, then carotene, xanthophyll. The chloroplast pigments that comes under the pigment system 2 are chlorophyll B and phycobilins and another form of chlorophyll A. So these pigments absorb the visible light, comes with the wavelength of 390 to 760 nanometer. And another important factor is that the chlorophyll A or the pigments, the chloroplast pigments that comes under the pigment system 1 absorb the wavelength up to 700 nanometer. Up to 700 nanometer. So we can say that its reaction center is P700. So the reaction center of the pigment system 1 is P700 because it absorbs the wavelength up to 700 nanometer. But here in the case of pigment system 2, it absorbs the wavelength up to 680 nanometer. So its reaction center is P680. P stands for pigment. P stands for pigments. See, the pigment system 1 absorbs the wavelength up to 700 nanometer. So its reaction center is P700, and the pigment system 2 absorbs the wavelength up to 680 nanometer. So its reaction center is P680. So these are the two types of pigment systems that are present in chloroplast. that helps in photosynthesis. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed this class. Thank you. Namah Shivaya. Stay safe.